Hi all, and welcome to week 6, our second to last week in the class. I wanted to do a quick video for you just to go through the requirements for the annotated bibliography assignment. This assignment is designed to build on what you did in the primary source assignment a couple of weeks ago. So you'll use the same film for both the primary source and the annotated bibliography. And the goal is the same, to help you practice at being a film historian, learning the types of things film historians do. And really the goal is the same also, in that you get really good with MLA format for citing, in this case, both primary and secondary sources, so that if you go on, you'll probably have to do this type of work in other film and media studies classes, and depending on what you do in the industry, especially if you're interested in film history or being a film historian, this will be really helpful getting that MLA format down. So here's what I'm looking for you to do. That's the purpose behind the assignment. Here's what I'm looking for you to do in the actual assignment. Use the same film as your primary source assignment. So you already have one source, that primary source from that assignment, and you only need 2 sources total. It's a very brief annotated bibliography. The idea here is that you learn these fundamentals. You don't need to do a lot of entries to show to me you've learned that. So really just 2 entries, a primary source and a secondary source, and you've already got the primary source from your earlier assignment. And so once again, identify your name, the film title, and the year released. Have those 3 things as bullet points at the top of the page, and then have your bibliography. The first entry, well, they should be in alphabetical order, but one of the 2 entries can be the same entry from your primary source assignment. If you got 10 out of 10, 100% on that, just copy and paste it. If you didn't get 100% on that, I should have identified in my comments what was missing, so just add that to it and then put it on this bibliography. And that's all you need for the primary source part, with one additional thing. This is an annotated bibliography, so like the assignment sheet says, you need that short annotation. Basically 3 to 4 sentences just describing the source. Doesn't have to be a whole paragraph, just 3 to 4 sentences, a quick paraphrase of what that source is about. So that's the primary source. The second portion is the secondary source. Another key goal of this assignment I didn't mention earlier is learning the differences between primary and secondary sources. So we talked about this a little bit when you did your primary source assignment. But the key difference is a primary source is something written the time the film came out that reflects its reception and cultural context. So it could be, reviews or news articles like from popular presses around the time the film came out, for older films, because current films are important to film history too, but film historians work quite a bit with older films. So that's the primary source, something from a popular press, the time it came out, that contextualizes its reception at that time. A secondary source is more along the lines of what film and media scholars do now. So a secondary source is a scholarly source that's much more recent, as recent as possible, ideally the last 10 to 15 years. Depending on your film, you might not be able to find that, so that's okay, but generally as recently as you can. And it should be some kind of analysis, some kind of interpretation of the film where the author more makes an argument about the film. So to quickly summarize, some of the key differences between primary and secondary sources are: primary is when the film came out, secondary source is current today. That's the key difference. They're both writing about the film. Some other more minor differences that are particular to this assignment and to what film historians do. A primary source is usually evaluative. It is more like a review of the film, saying whether this is a good film or not, whether the writer liked it or not. So a primary source is more evaluative. A secondary source is more interpretive, meaning this is an analysis. The author's arguing, what the meaning of the film is. A third difference would be the primary source is more likely from a popular press, like a newspaper or magazine. A scholarly source is more academic, from some kind of film journal that's peer-reviewed, published by a university press, ideally. You can find those through JSTOR. You can also use any academic journal or database from the library. So there's pretty good film databases there that I will post a link to the film databases. But most of you chose, I think actually all of you, to my recollection from the grading, chose really well recognized films. The Wizard of Oz, Casablanca. There should be plenty of scholarship on those films, which is why I recommended you pick a really well-known film when you did the first assignment. So that should hopefully tell you what kind of article to get for that secondary source. And so same thing for that secondary source. Do a top-notch MLA works cited entry, and then provide 3 to 4 sentences of annotation. With the annotation, the only thing that's different or that you need to know there is since this is an author who's giving an interpretation, making an argument about the film, you need to be able to paraphrase that argument in your own words. So that's also something I'll be looking for when I grade these is, are you able to read a scholarly article and discern the author's argument and then paraphrase that in your own words. Paraphrasing shows understanding. The best way to convey to a professor or colleague or peer that you've read something complex like an academic article and understood it is your ability to paraphrase its argument in your own words. So again, very short, doesn't need to be even a whole paragraph, just 3 to 4 sentences, but in there, be sure in your summary there that you do paraphrase the author's argument about the film. So hopefully that all makes sense. Again, let me know if you have any questions. Those of you who have emailed me know I get back quickly, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. So look forward to talking to you. If you do have any questions and working with you this week, have a great week.